Is it a Tudor Ranger? No. Is it a Longines Nautilus? It's not that either. Is it an AliExpress clomage scam brand shilled by affiliate scheming YouTubers? Good God, no. Perhaps it's another lackluster Submariner or Explorer wannabe by a micro brand.
Diplomatic community!
Well, it's not that either. It is in fact the best comeback since...
It's just been revoked.
Well, it is in fact a Bulova. Well, not quite. Let me explain. But more interestingly, apart from the name on the dial, this gives us a glimpse as to where this brand is going in the future. And it's by no means perfect, but of course we'll get into all the details in just a moment. However, what you are seeing is it first here on the Urban Gentry. Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the show. Now, before we go over the historical context, if you love free and independent content, you know what to do. Hit that like button and leave your thoughts in the comments. It's the best way to support the channel. Caravelle is a sub-brand of Bulova, started in 1962, and just in case you are wondering about the etymology of the word, it's of French and Latin origin, derived from the Galician Portuguese, but also there are variants in Italian and Spanish, all used to describe the classification of a sailing ship common throughout the Mediterranean and famously utilized on many voyages during Europe's golden age of exploration in the 15th and 16th century. Fitting for a watch of this nature, as it's a brand designed specifically for wide appeal. Clever stuff indeed. Bulova introduced this brand during its very own technological and horological peak age. We must remember that during the 60s, Bulova was quite literally changing the world with the introduction of its pre-quartz tuning fork movements and therefore being the backbone of the space race timing tech, along with unparalleled success commercially in the mainstream cultural zeitgeist. I'll do my wristwatch check wearing my Panerai, my beloved Panerai, with a tropic strap fatto in Italia, questo qua, con questo adore di vanilla. Absolutely fantastic. It looks kind of white, but actually it's a grey, but I got this from Holborn's and I highly recommend it. In fact, actually, come to think of it, the tropic strap would work wonderfully on this meraviglioso little bad boy here.
I'm walking here! I'm walking here!
Let's rewind and relive the magic of the 70s.
I just like the dirt. It's filthy.
Well, it's too crowded.
Filthy sidewalks and taxes.
Politics, that's what I dislike about New York.
It was intended, very much like Hans Wilsdorf wanted his Tudor sister brand to be, in relation to its bigger brother, Rolex. Essentially a budget-friendly, fashion-forward option. However, while it had a solid run for several decades, and was even spotted on the wrists of a president, several top actors of the age, and even the king of rock and roll himself, when not sporting his more iconic Hamilton Ventura, of course. But sadly, like most of the American and Swiss watch industry, it went the way of the dodo, with the inevitable fallout from, and I'm sure you know the story by now, yes, the quartz crisis, which saw Caravelle devolve into a mall watch fashion brand, where it still languishes to this day. Now what you get is a very on-trend scale. We've got a 39mm diameter. We'll talk about the height in the negatives, Spoilers there. Yeah, it's almost spot on in terms of scale. Now inside, it's an automatic Japanese-made Miyota 8215, the backbone of many micro-brand offerings. It's been going since 1977, so a very much proven reliability. This is the modern equivalent with hacking, manual wind, and a quick set date. Not much to complain about here. Accuracy, you're getting more the factory dictated tolerances rather than anything near cost certification, but of course it's perfectly capable and you can regulate it yourself, unlike some of the entry-level Swiss timepieces now. And in a certain respect, you could almost argue it's in-house because it's in group. Who owns Miyota, we all know, and who owns Bulova and Caravelle. This 120 click unidirectional bezel is for the money impressive. No misalignment. Are you listening, Seiko? And while these are not professionally rated, we do get a very capable 200 meters water resistance. But best of all, it still has 666 on the dial. Considering the history of this piece, very cool indeed. The Sea Hunter had its genesis in 1969, first as a 666 feet capable stripped down super affordable alternative to Bulova's highly prosperous Devil Diver, arguably their most iconic diving watch that we have covered before, very much in the same way Tudor shadowed its bigger bros Submariner. By 1969, however, they implemented the Longines Nautilus and compressor diver handset over the less effective Dauphine or stick hands of before, often referred to actually erroneously as the Ranger handset as well. And this was with the reference 665-1. Now interestingly, they were so proud of this dive watch, it was the only Caravelle entirely Swiss-made, a little contrary to Bulova's cost-efficient ethos behind the otherwise affordable mission of this particular sub-brand, which at the time sold at retail for an astonishing $69.99, which doesn't sound like much in today's money, but adjusted for inflation, which is around $600 today, 56 years later, which for a Swiss-made timepiece is very competitive. This is especially crazy when you consider vintage examples go for between 4 to 5k on today's used market, which is veramente pazzesco. So we're back here at the former HQ of Bulova, the Bulova Corporate Center. Now the HQ is in the Empire State Building, and you can probably hear La Guardia is just over there. Every time I take a flight, I pass it, or going to Brooklyn to see family on Thanksgiving. And this is where the original was developed, interestingly enough. Now the first generation of Sea Hunter had a Japanese-made movement, which is kind of interesting considering it's now owned by the Citizen Group. Second generation, which this is based on, aesthetically at least, had a ETA, Swiss-made ETA, and that went automatic. Now I'm wearing it on the clasp and bracelet. It came with stamped clasp. I mean, what do you expect at this $400 price point? Pin and collar links, all the rest of it. It has a little micro extension, diver extension. It's pretty comfortable. It kind of reminds me of the jingly jangly days of, you know, entry-level SKXs and Seikos. However, my recommendation is buy a Tropic strap like the ones I wear from Holman's that I've been enjoying all summer and I've been rabbiting on about because I adore them. Put it on this and yeah, you still under $500. You got a bit of nostalgia and authenticity that you just cannot replicate. And that's what I do love about, you know, a heritage brand like this. Affordable watches should really be classified as BM and AM for before and after Moonswatch. So while the watch dealer hype riders talked endlessly with derivative opinions on value proposition when it first landed, we can all agree that it undeniably caused a much needed industry-wide wake-up call. Now, if you recall, we saw things a little differently here at the Urban Gentry, with some brands finally agreeing with what we had been saying for donkey's years in understanding the need to reinforce the entry level. I mean, have they never watched The Wire? It's basic economics.
Game ain't about that no more. It's about product. And our profit went up like 8-9%. Yo, get it straight. Your territory ain't gonna mean shit if your product is weak. Go ahead and ask them motherfuckers trying to sell them Ford Tempos when you got riding around in Japanese and German cars in America all day. Territory ain't shit.
As a result, fast forward to today, and many more brands have reinforced their own respective entry level since. And while the traditional watch industry is not going away anytime soon, it certainly is under attack from all sides. And to their detriment, they are very far away from being shrewd stringer bell types, studying the wealth of nations. Between the stylistically bankrupt disposable unsmart watch, as well as more compelling rivalry from agile micro-brand creativity, along with endless scam trash from AliExpress and their influencer affiliate shield schemes, and then not to mention the wider state of the industry, how does a brand say, hey, look at me over here, we got cool stuff too? Well, the Moonswatch formula is kind of what you see here. But have Bulova simply gone digging in the archives to find gold and attempt modern horological alchemy? And is it actually any good? So what are the negatives? Well, as well as this functional final version, I was also sent some samples without movements inside. In my opinion, the rose gold variant doesn't work with this tooltastic spirit of the watch. It's a bit of a faux pas. It's like grating Parmigiano on pasta alla vongole. Naturally, there's going to be a big stigma attached to the Caravelle name, as we discussed before, because of that mall watch connotation. It's going to take a while for Bulova to kind of turn it around, but they've done it with the majority of Bulova's offerings, with the Mill ships, with the Devil Diver, with what else did they do? Oh, the Lunar Pilot, by concentrating and listening to the watch enthusiasts and going back to making quality iconic watches. Now, some of the silicone straps on the other samples were, well, che schifezza ragazzi. Yeah, cheap in the derogatory sense of the word. But this is the entry level, and you're going to have to cut corners to make it profitable, especially when you're producing at scale in a big brand like this. Micro brands are less guilty of this because it's small batches. Every little cent here and dime there adds up, you know. So the mineral glass, obviously that's going to be a bone of contention. It would have been nice to have sapphire. Now, I am no expert, but I have designed dozens of watches, and I'm kind of puzzled as to why this is so tall. It's over 13 millimeters in height. I've worked with this movement. I know it's capable of being in a thinner case with this water resistance, but it would have been nice to be slimmer. And naturally, I would love to have a more balanced dial, you know, a no-date version with a true no-date movement with the three, you know, like a more Explorer-esque layout to the dial. Many nuances I would have implemented to kind of elevate this a little bit. Very small little design details, but again, you know, I'm not going to give my suggestions because I'm not going to do Caravelle's job for them. However, you know. And lastly, the finishing on the case. It's pretty much all a high polish. I would love to see some differentiation, some brushing on the sides, just to give it a little bit more refinement. When something is uniform in its finishing, it gives a cheapness. Or you know what, at the top of the lugs, that therefore it would have integrated with the bracelet a little more fluid in its transition, because you know you got this high polish, then the brush. It's a shame. In fact, actually, I would have preferred to spend, you know, under 500, have dominance of the under $500 mark, and offer sapphire and a little bit more finishing, and perhaps implement a tiny little. Okay, you know what? My suggestion, I would have loved to have a loomed seconds hand. Bring that functionality even more. Those are my suggestions. I have several more, but I will keep those to myself.
It is said that what is called the spirit of an age is something to which one cannot return. For this reason, although one would like to change today's world back to the spirit of 100 years or more ago, it could not be done. Thus, it is important to make the best out of every generation.
The Sea Hunter, in name, perfectly encapsulates that Bondian tool watch vibe, and therefore that Fleming-esque sense of adventure. It evokes the same feeling of an Explorer or a vintage Submariner 5513, but with a 1016 dial layout and a Longines LLD handset, but most importantly without being blatant rip-offs of any of them. However, best of all, it's got its own legacy. Now, interestingly, all the watches I just named are iconic timepieces that I absolutely adore. In fact, you could see the Sea Hunter right at home with that timeless peak 1960s sprezzatura styling of Connery. We are firmly in dagger territory here, and I'm not being a contrarian, but Gada is just so lame in my opinion. For me, they kind of missed the trick not doing the ghost dog and offering a more tactical PVD version, which makes more sense than trying to cosplay as luxury with gold plating. And since we are talking 007, it's a great place to be, especially at the affordable level, but not in that cheapo plastic wannabe speedy manner. And also bear in mind, it's a dramatic shift from the lackluster mall watch schifezza that has been alienating us watch enthusiasts. This is obviously just the start of a much-needed comeback, like Travolta in Pulp Fiction, or that witty Bill Murray retort in Ghostbusters.
Everything was fine with our system until the power grid was shut off by Dickless here.
Is this true?
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
Sure, it's not revolutionary. I still rate it highly. But sometimes, all you really need to do is just make a good watch at a good price. So for this dramatic U-turn for Caravelle, I definitely give it the Pure Class certification. Come to think of it, if you had told me a decade ago that this brand would be making watches in this style, at this price, in this size, I would be excited, and I am excited. This is fantastic. By no means perfect, but you know, I've discussed that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Where do you think they should go next? What do you like about this watch? What you don't like? Do share your feedback. I'll definitely reply to as much of it as possible. I love the discussion. That's the best part of making these videos. So don't forget to add your thoughts. And don't forget to hit that like button. I'll catch you in the next one for more independent and free content. Thank you for watching. Onwards and upwards. Ciao.